We're back.
Guess we're back. God, long time no see, people. It's
Why don't I see it?
2 videos in a day. Go into the initial just channel where it says visit channel, not playlist. Go to the initial channel. Just hit real talk with the Cummings. Dude. No. Go back.
Anyway,
Yeah.
we were gonna talk about what happened today.
Yes, we were. We just made a very long video talking about a subject which many of you that know us probably know what the heck are they talking about now. But there it is. But we originally wanted to make a video regarding our experience today.
A good experience.
Yeah, it was a very good
Actually,
experience.
it turned out to be a really positive interaction between a local pastor here that we met last year. What was it? Actually, when we had originally detransitioned, we walked into his congregation, you know, as our detransitioned selves, and we were sharing communion with him. You know, we were listening to him preach, and we were in his worship service. And, you know, it was one of those things where we eventually met him again when we joined the gym, and he interacted with us a little bit, connected with us some.
Said he wanted to meet with us,
you
know, and talk about our story and things of that nature.
Hey, team.
Hello, team.
So we recently got into contact with him because we were just, you know, I just felt on my heart that I wanted to connect with him and just share a few things.
Right.
So I actually reached out to him on Messenger on Facebook and shared with him a little bit about my story. And he was open to meeting with us. He and his wife met with us this morning or this afternoon.
Yeah, afternoon.
At our favorite little cafe, and
we had breakfast or lunch or whatever they call it, and you know we've been struggling with searching for our inner beliefs and what is it that we believe in and what do we want to follow as far as spiritual food. And you come from a very Christian background.
I do.
And I come from a very spiritual, new agey background. And I actually got brought into Jesus by you. You know, we got baptized.
Yeah, it's ironic how God works.
I know, right? And if people don't believe how God works, he works in mysterious ways. I've never been an atheist, but I was always very fearful of religion because of the judgment. And that's one of the things I believe that everybody in the LGBT community is very afraid of. They're afraid of being judged. So what do? They're afraid of being judged, so they push God away. And what does the church do? They push people like us away because they treat us as leopards. They don't understand us. They look at us as sin. So it's like everyone is like pushing everyone away.
So I basically, you know, kind of maybe the pastor offered to meet with us and stuff. And he, I kind of like inferred the fact that, you know, we feel like we get treated like the modern day leper, you know, that was like unclean, stay away from those people. They're social outcasts, deviant, don't even stand in their presence.
Yeah, because they're afraid like a leopard is going to be contagious or that they're not following God's word by interacting with people like us, which makes absolutely no sense to me because you go to a hospital.
And he alluded to that again.
Yeah, you go to a hospital. I don't go to a hospital, so I don't want to go to a hospital to get healed. But most people go to a hospital to try to receive some sort of healing, get surgery, whatever. So I look at church as the soul hospital. People that are, you know, all right with God, a lot of them don't go to church. But people that are hurting and need God in their lives go to church to receive that spiritual healing and feeding. So we were sharing our story, which they thought was amazing. Was we do have a very beautiful story, and I think yes, people that don't understand something fear it and push it aside. So if you educate people and make it real to them, then they may have some compassion and understanding and welcome them into your life versus pushing you away. Now notice, one thing is educating, letting people know about yourself, being open, they have questions. Then people might accept you, instead of like, don't ask me those questions like most people in the trans community do. Don't ask me what I have down there. Don't ask this, don't ask that. Well, how do you expect people to learn and love and accept you if you're pushing people away?
And I think there was a real freedom in that conversation today because, he and his wife did not want to offend us in any way and want to be sensitive to us and stuff. And we just said, you guys, we're an open book. I mean, we have experienced everything, and there's nothing off limits. How we want to refer to us and stuff like that. And that really kind of like, oh, thank God. It's like freedom to be able to relate,
right?
And to share.
To not have to walk on eggshells, which a lot of trans people make people feel like.
Get my pronouns right.
Yeah. And it's like, it's whatever makes you comfortable. That's what you can call me, or doesn't matter to me. I mean, I don't live attached to this vessel. It's only a temporary vessel that God has provided to me to be able to navigate this world that I'm living in. So anyway, we sat there, gave them a story, and they were very interested and listened very intensely. They even shared some stories with us regarding family members and things of that nature, and pretty much said that they understand that people in the church are a little standoffish because they're afraid, and they've really never heard the full story.
Well, they compared it to like the story of the good son and the lost prodigal and stuff like that, and just how so many in the church are like that good son who have never really ventured off, but in the sense that they haven't really ventured off, they feel justified in being able to point their finger at people and to make judgments on people and to tell people that they're living in sin and stuff when they haven't, done, oh my gosh, what, those people.
They haven't done the work, like everybody else. We've repented and we're here, but what people don't understand is like, yes, our sin is visible, but most people that go to church that are sitting in those pew seats are walking around with a heck of a lot of sins, but nobody could tell because they're there with their best dressed church clothing and pretending to be all God loving, but in the back of their mind, they're thinking, oh my God, I did this last week, or I just cheated on my wife, or I've been watching porn all night, and things that no one could clearly see. Okay, with us, it's a visible thing, and it's the scars that we bear for who we are. So one of the things that we wanted to accomplish in that meeting, not only was education, to get the pastor to be understanding and possibly able to preach or help someone like us, or be able to help a family member that may be dealing with someone in the family that's dealing with trans issues or gay issues. So you equip the pastor with that, and it's very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole other group of people that he can actually minister to. And, we were talking to him and his wife about, outreach and what it means to be able to invite people into connection and fellowship with you without condoning what they're doing. And the pastor's wife said, that's really a hard thing for a lot of Christians to do, because they feel like they're compromising their principles and their belief system when they do interact with people. But you had said something that was really interesting, because although it is hard, we don't take away from that fact. The reality is that Jesus never asked us to judge people and keep them away from hearing God's message. He said, that we were to, judge rightly and stuff, and weigh things out. But it didn't mean that you weren't supposed to have any fellowship with people, that you weren't supposed to interact with them, that you were supposed to keep them away from your meeting places and stuff.
And how do you get people to learn about God and His Son Jesus if you don't allow them in the church, if you don't allow them to feel the love and the fellowship of other Christians? He shared with us a story that there was this gay individual that started going to church, and through all the love that the church gave him, he left, he married and had kids,
Right.
Yeah. And not to say that everybody's going to go to church and that's what's going to happen, because it's not how mankind wants things. It's in God's timing and what God has in store for each and every one of us, how God's going to speak to us, and how that healing is going to look. God uses different things to reach people. He might be using us as we are to help educate and reach people.
Yeah, he had this story about how he likes to go, visit the local prison here in Silver City, and basically, he likes to witness and be able to be a light in darkness, and he's got people there that are able to listen, because they're in jail, and he remembers that. He would go, and his witness wasn't very effective because he couldn't relate. He was never in jail.
And people would give him a look like this.
Like
He'd be
standoffish.
Like, what do you think you are talking about? Blah, blah, blah. What do you know?
So one day he had a friend of his who was, hardcore criminal at the time, and he has a huge testimony. God saved him and brought him out of this life, of all this violence and stuff, basically. And he invited him to go to the prison. The guy started talking, and people could connect with him because he was one of them. He was one of the brothers there that, they were like sharing in just the commonality.
Right. They understood his story because they could relate with him. They were all on the edge of the seat and really connecting to this guy because he was one of them. And now Jesus saved him, and he feels different. He's able to share that story. So they were hungry for the information.
Because they were really like connecting to his heart, and wow, if God could do that for you, and you were like this, that, or the other, he could do that for me. Right. And it's like, there's nothing like being able to understand what other people are going through, and for them to connect with you on a spiritual level, that the pastor, he
didn't have those tools.
Couldn't have that. He couldn't have that. Mm-hmm. So he told us, he said, you guys have a real, connected ability to reach out to this segment of society that I would never be able to reach. I would never be able to connect with them because I don't know what the first thing is about.
Right. And you could also help the church and the churchgoers understand, people like yourself. And again, one of the things we emphasize is not that we're condoning our behavior, because we know that this is not, we would never tell somebody, yes, go and live, this way and do whatever. Because
it makes you happy, do it.
Because we don't condone it. We think that although it buys you some happiness and you get some sort of something from for some people, short-lived, in the long run, as the years go by, you start weighing out what you've lost and what you've gained, and what you've lost outweighs what you've gained. And when people want to be truthful and honest about it and really do the calculations, they could come to that conclusion.
Absolutely.
That's what my heart tells me, and that's what I hear and see in the community. And again, I'm trying to judge anybody. I'm just trying to help people understand that, sometimes as much as we want to push God away and the message of God, and I know a lot of people in the LGBT community are atheists.
And they're really turned off to hearing anything about anything having to do with God.
Yeah.
Because once you say Jesus or God, there's judgment.
And there's disconnect. It's like you just lost the communication between you and that person you're talking to because you mentioned the word God. Because I remember as a kid and being raised as a Jehovah's Witness, always being judged for who I was just because of the way I walked and talked and dressed. And, it's like they were trying to break my spirit. They were trying to make me be this perfect little girl, which is what a lot of the religious teachings are, they want to force people to be something that they're not.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm a man and you're not saying you're a woman. It's just our personality, the way that we conduct ourselves, no matter if I had a beard or not. I've always had this personality. I mean, walked around in a dress, my mom would make fun of me. You were super duper sensitive. You would cry out of a hat, and then, you would make fun by your uncle and things of that nature, which breaks your spirit. And every time your spirit is broken, you allow darkness to come in. When darkness comes in, your thoughts then belong to that darkness. And you do horrible things to yourself in the quest of finding love and approval.
And there's nothing that you won't do in order to satisfy that emptiness that you have. Mm-hmm. And you'll look for that satisfaction, even if it means that it's going to cost you your life.
Yeah.
Even if it means that it's going to cost you your career. And one of the things and your family, one of the things that the pastor said was that I mentioned that in my particular case, the whole concept of being rejected by people that knew me before and all mm-hmm. that stuff. I mean, years of suppression, years of expression, and for me, I was asking the pastor what he thought, why is it that people have to disassociate? And he's like, because you were taught better. You knew you were especially supposed to be aware of these things. Right. You know what the Bible says about homosexuality and this and that and the other. And, I was like, yeah, I was taught that, but did I believe that? Mm-hmm. Did that really sink in? Because even though it's taught, it doesn't mean that it's caught by a person, So for me, I still wrestled with the idea of homosexuality. I was like, when I transitioned, I was like, hey, I'm an open book. I mean, I don't have any leanings towards thinking that this is wrong, that's wrong, and stuff like that. So
because we don't want to believe that it's wrong, because we're like, well, why do I feel this way? Why should I believe it's wrong? They're just telling me it's wrong. But and again, no judgment whether it's wrong or right. You have to go into your heart and know if you have a conviction over something. But if we really get to brass tacks or black and white, I don't believe that our Father created humanity to steer away from his original plan. And yes, there's things in this world that don't follow that original plan, but there's nothing more wonderful and more beautiful than a family unit.
Yeah, and I didn't really want to make this video about homosexuality or anything. I was just just saying that just because you're raised in the church mm-hmm. doesn't mean that you're raised to accept everything the church teaches, because right. I question the concept of tithing even. I mean, right. I was like, I don't even believe, I question the whole concept of the church even, but, the reality is that, people will not have grace for those that they think know better, and they will say, I release you to do whatever you want to do, and I will not fellowship with you. And I was trying to mention to the pastor that doesn't help anybody. I mean, whether you're raised in the church or if you're raised in the devil's den or wherever it is, it doesn't matter. The whole concept of loving your neighbor is just that. It doesn't mean love your neighbor unless they're worshiping idols. Love your neighbor unless they're gay. Love your neighbor unless they it's
because everyone's got something they're dealing with. I don't believe there's one single human being that's free of some sort of so-called sin. We all do things. I mean, whether we're gluttonous or whether we're envious or whether we gossip or, I mean, you name it. There's a list a mile long, and one sin's not worse than the other sin. We're all sinners.
And let's be honest about the whole concept of what sin is. I mean, in its context of what the true meaning of sin is, it's like, it's basically like, okay, you have a bow and an arrow, and you're aiming it at a bullseye, and you release it, and it goes off target, and it doesn't hit the mark that you needed it to hit.
Right.
It's called missing the mark. You know, you're not perfect. You know, you can't be perfect. So you're going to sin. I mean, we are all fallen creatures. We are all sinful people. We all make mistakes. And there's not one mistake that's greater than the other. Of course, society has different repercussions and, you know, consequences for murder as opposed to adultery, you know,
traffic,
or a traffic violation, you know.
But it's all breaking the law. You know, whether you kill someone or whether you run a red light, you're breaking the law. When you break the law, there's ramifications. I mean, nature has laws. You know, you play with fire in the woods that is dry, you're going to create a forest fire, and then that forest fire takes off. It's going to kill, you know, animals and people. I mean, with every action, there's a reaction. You know,
true.
You know, so it's like it's laws that have been placed there, you know, by our Creator. But our Creator loves us so much that, what did He do?
Yeah, He sacrificed all to bring us to understand that we could be like Him. You know, not be Him,
be like Him, and
like Him.
We all have our cross to carry and bear. Some heavier than others, but we all have something that we have to deal with, a thorn in our flesh. And I believe that if we are exposed to God and His love and His people and go to that church, that hospital, that there might be a possibility for us to heal. And however that healing looks like, it doesn't matter. I mean, everyone heals differently. Everyone has a different way of progressing, you know. And just the fact that you are accepting God into your life, that you're listening to God's words, that will bring you peace. That will bring you peace, because one thing I've noticed, when we break laws, when we veer from the lane, when we do things that bring us out of balance, we become diseased, unbalanced. We lose our peace. And the only way, and I know a lot of people don't believe in God, but for those of you that do, and for those of you that when you hear the word of God, it's like a child that wants the approval of your mom or your dad. We're always, hey, mom, look what I did. Or, hey, dad, hey. We want that approval. We want that love. And I know many of you are angry at God, and they don't care about the approval, but God loves you no matter what. You know, and I believe that's something that God has put us together.
I think so. I mean, I think that God is so wanting to let us know, every single one of us as humans, that His love for us is so great, is so deep, that there's nothing that He wouldn't do to rescue us out of the pit that we've created for ourselves, you know. And, you know, there is nothing that He wouldn't do to bring us back to fellowship with Him. And, you know, I have tried, I really have. I have tried to break away from believing. I have tried New Age thought. I have looked into all kinds of doctrine. I have
read all sorts of books.
Meditation. I have done it all. I have given my best effort. But what ends up happening is, at the end of the day, I look back at everything that I've done and everything that I've been taught and understood to be true. Like when I was like a little 5-year-old kid in a Sunday school at a church, you know, and when I was just like a little child, I just humbly accepted Jesus Christ into my heart, in the sense of however a child can understand it. But there was this peace in my heart. And I remember God would say, you know, that, you know, He would never leave me and that He would never forsake me. So I remember the Psalm 23, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, there you are with me. That, you know, I mean, you're there with me, you know, that you prepare a table for me to eat. in the presence of my enemies. I mean, it's like, you know, God is just like, he's like, you know what? You're my child. I love you. I don't want you to make these decisions. I don't want you to be transgender. I don't want you to renege on the sex that I created you as. You know, I had plans for you as that, you know, but I have mercy for you. I love you, and I will use your error to somehow bring myself glory and to bring myself, you know, another one, you know, to me, you know, and I really do believe that that's what God did, you know, because my heart was always tender towards God, and I always felt this tug in my heart, even when I did transition, that I didn't want to separate myself away from God. And when we met, it was like, you were so cold to like
oh my God,
anything.
yeah. I didn't want any part of it, like most people in the LGBT. It's like, what, God, religion, the Bible, stuff that judges me, stuff that has been judging me since the day I was a little kid because the way I walked and the way I talked and how I carried myself. You know, I've been told I'm going to go to hell. Why would I want God in my life? But you brought God into my life. I remember the day we got baptized, you know, I'll never forget it. And it's, you know, it's like a beautiful thing, that kind of love that you feel, that kind of connection. Like it's like the longing of a father that, you know, for those of you who maybe don't have a father in your life or have not been able to receive that love, when you feel the love of God, it's an amazing love. And there's no material things, there's no food, there's nothing that can compare to that. And you're talking to somebody, I was not an atheist, but I always believe in like the spaghetti God or the spiritual this and that. And it was all about the crystals and all this new agey stuff because it fit the paradigm. But, you know, when you get to know the love of God and you get to listen to Christian music and you get to watch the gospel and it's just like food for the soul. And I believe truly that every single human being out there that opens their heart to that will be better off. You know, no one's asking you to change or depart your evil ways. And I know Christians do that all the time, but I believe we have to teach individuals to understand that they're not here to judge. There's only one judge. And they're just here to love and to open up their doors so people could accept and learn about God.
Carrie says, I believe God was watching over me yesterday when my Frankie, her cat, wonderful pet, got scared in the parking lot of PetSmart because some evil person honked their horn and he got loose and ran almost to the busy street. Frankie stopped, let a stranger pick him up, and he was only 200 yards from the 4-lane busy street. God saved my baby for him. And yeah, I mean, Carrie, God, I mean, he cares even about Frankie.
Yeah,
you know,
of course. Every
and
creation.
He knows how much Frankie means to you and the symbolicness of Frankie and how, you know, I mean, in a way, Frankie has shown the love of God to you.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, he'll use anything.
Right. And he knows you've been hurting. I mean, he knows that you probably cannot handle that kind of hurt because you're still healing from other hurt. So he wanted to save you from that. And he works in mysterious ways that we, our little human brain, can never even muster or understand.
And, you know, I mean, it says, you know, and I keep getting reminded that God uses the foolish things of this world to confound the wise, you know, and, you know, I mean, what could be more foolish than a person believing that they are the other gender? I mean, common sense that any born regular person who doesn't deal with gender dysphoria would be like, heck no.
What did the pastor tell us? He goes, when we met us, he was like, what's wrong with these two?
What's wrong with these two?
And that's how people think. You know, they don't mean to think that way, but, you know, we're going against everything.
All the protocols.
All the normality. I mean, people kind of get homosexuality. They're like, okay, but what we do, it's really out there. When you see, like, who was it? Somebody who lives in this town, very macho. He told us a story. They were friends with them, very macho.
Went to church, very ultra-conservative.
Made fun of people and their earrings and all that stuff. And one day, they started seeing them with earrings, and before you know it, they were like professing that they were born in the wrong body, and now saying they were transgender. So it's like, people are like, how in the world, this manly man, all of a sudden they're saying they're a woman? So, I mean, people can't wrap their brains around that.
But then in the second, you know, in explaining why this person actually did what they did, you know, we come to find out that their mom actually wanted a girl.
Yeah.
You know, and so like subliminally, you know, potentially even in utero, the parent planted the mom planted a seed of doubt inside this innocent child, and affected that child so much so that when they got older, they thought that they were a woman, and they transitioned and had a sex change surgery. And, you know, I mean, it's like, we don't understand, you know, why some of these things take place and happen, but we have to accept the fact that, you know, people are broken, and people have so many holes in them, and that the only way to fill that hole in their heart is with the love of a God, the love of Jesus Christ, that can penetrate, you know. And Carrie said, you know, I really believe that, Lena. Frankie he has healed my broken soul so much. And Robin said, God brought y'all together and loves y'all.
Definitely. I think I'm trying to open up the thing, but every time I open, is the quality lost? Because I'm trying to open so I could see the comments as well, because vision is not that greatest. And Chase says, I am worried about your relationship with your children. It's not my business, but your cross with your children has to be dealt with. This is part of the healing process through God's grace. Definitely. It's all about, you know, God will heal that in its intended time. And it's not our time, but his time.
And I'm not shy to talk about it. I mean, God knows, Mark knows, that we have done a lot to try to reach out to them.
And a couple of the detransitions. I've tried to detransition 4 times, 2 on my own and 2 of us together. And every single time, it's always been in the thought for those kids.
Yeah.
To see if, okay, well, if we detransition, you know, maybe things would, you know, would sort itself out.
And it is really, Chaser, it is a very sad thing. It is something that I deal with every single day. I no longer deal with like the guilt of it anymore, but I do deal with the reality of it.
You miss them. It's sad, you know.
I'm married, and I had children, and they were in my life, and we had a relationship, and you know, it's a sad thing to lose out.
So Blue Bottle Bunny Farm says, I love Christ's message, but I don't particularly like church pastors or church interpretation of Christ's message. I do like church fellowship. I love old gospel music, yes, and I love Christian music. That's one of the things that when Lena and I started getting together, she would listen to the music, and at first I was like, why are we listening to this? But then it really started touching me, and I really became, I love Christian music now, you know, and it's something that really speaks to your soul. And I agree with you. I mean, some pastors are all about brimstone and hellfire and bigotry, and they don't realize that we have to fear God, and I understand, like we fear our parent, but you also want to hear the good news, and you also want to bring people in to feel that love that most of us are lacking. Once you draw people in and you're feeling that love, then you can say, by the way, these are laws. Like, you know, when you're a kid and your mom and dad tells you, you're not allowed to go in this. You can't touch that because there's laws. Nature has laws. There's laws. So there are. And we have to understand these. But the way they present these laws and the way they make people feel is the way they need to change their actual, what's the word I'm looking for? Their delivery of it. Yes.
So I love old gospel music too. I grew up, I used to live in Nashville. So I used to do a lot of recordings with Southern gospel groups, and you know, I grew up listening to all that old stuff. Chaser says, my wife thinks you should find a way to develop a relationship with your kids. That'll help ease the heavy cross you bear.
Don't you think we've tried? Don't you think we have, like, we beat that horse over and over and over again?
Yeah.
Time and time again.
I have like reached out to them in ways like, you know, I'm going to be on the call on every Saturday, and whoever wants to talk to me can, right? And I would get maybe one child who would want to speak to me. And then sometimes none would want to. So what really hurt my feelings at the end was last year when I stopped doing it was that I had all my kids gather together and we were going to have them listen. You know, I had something to say. And I was in the middle of talking to my oldest daughter, my only daughter. And about 10 minutes into talking to her specifically, my ex-wife let me know that she had already left the room like 10 minutes before. And I was just crushed. I was like, wow. So all that time I'm talking to my daughter and there's really no respect at all for me as a parent. So yeah, it was.
I sat and, you know, seen the tears, you know, the frustration, you know, the lack of respect on the behalf of her kids. And, you know, I understand that it's hard for them. I understand how terrible this is. And that's one of the reasons I tell people, please don't do this. And especially if you already have a family and you're an older adult, you're crushing the life of other people. And one of our missions is going to be that, is to not only try to educate the church, but also try to educate individuals that are on the fence with this thing. It's like, please don't do it. It's not going to solve anything. It's not going to give you any functionality, and you're going to lose a lot more than what you're going to gain. So Robin says, please YouTube Panda Ross and watch her 5-minute testimony then. Watch her on X Factor UK and witness the power of God working through someone. I am sure, I mean, God has ways, and when you feel that Holy Spirit and when you feel your heart open for God and you feel that love of God, it's the most amazing thing ever.
So, I'm not sure what. Agora eu te pergunto a question.
Ahora te pregunto que me ha obligado dos careca. Looks like Brazil. So I understand some of it. I am asking you.
Are you real or are you fake or something?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, there's always some what you mean,
maybe I'll Google translate it since we
anyway, Robin goes, God is working through you too, and God is showing us how beautiful he fixes what the world does to his children. Definitely. He will take something that is so broken, so unrecognizable by many people, and he will turn it into something beautiful because he is our God and he is all powerful and he's able to do everything and anything.
Absolutely. I'm convinced of that. Yeah. I don't think that I'd be here right now if it wasn't for God's grace on my life.
And I have no question that he put us together because, you know, the way Lena and I met, she almost died, you know, in a terrible car accident. And, you know, he put us together. You know, he put us together to allow the healing that he's trying to do in us, and put us together so we could share our story and help others understand why they struggle with what they struggle, you know. And I mean, we can make hours of video and conversation regarding this whole trans infliction and why it happens. And I know a lot of people say, well, you can't talk for me and things of that nature, but we are more alike than we are different. And if you look at the pattern and the feelings of the majority of people in this trans community, and even in the gay and lesbian community, we all come from some sort of trauma. We're hurting. We're broken people. Okay? And there's no judgment. It's the fact of what is, you know? Anyway, did you find out what the translation was?
No.
Okay, so y'all could be a witness for millions. Definitely, Robin. I think that's why God put us together, so we could do that.
Y'all can mend the world and make it a better place.
And we
would love to do that.
Yeah,
you know?
Definitely.
I know that everything that we've been through hasn't been in vain.
Exactly.
You know, I think that our story has a lot of things that people can relate to, even if you're not trans. Mm-hmm. Even if you're not, you know, dealing with what we've dealt with growing up and what we've had to deal with as a married couple. But, you know, just to realize that, you know, it's okay to be transparent. It's okay to be fallible. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to wrestle. It's okay to be mad at God. It's okay to question, you know.
And to realize that nothing goes in vain, that everything that happens in our life happens for a reason, and that God is watching and he's got us in his hand, you know, and he really has plans for us. And although the pain is great and we wonder, why, God, why are we going through this? Why did you do this? there's a plan, there's a reason, and they may not be instantly known to us, but through time, you start to understand that God works in mysterious ways. Chase says, "Hey, Lena, have you thought about taking religious classes?" Chase,
I went to Bible college, and I don't know, maybe speak at a college. I don't know, but yeah, I grew up in a Christian home, and definitely, I had hours and hours of religious college study and classes, and I sat under the teaching of some of the greatest, people on the planet, and traveled the world literally.
Jimmy Swagger College, actually, you went to.
Yeah, I went to this Evangelist College, but I worked alongside like a Joel Osteen or a Beth Moore and different people like that, and I sat under their teachings and stuff, and with some really great people.
And I didn't mean to laugh at you, Chase. It's just like, I know you're just recently reaching out to us, and but yeah, Linda's been through a lot. I mean, we've been a lot together as a couple, and she's been through a lot from the time she was little. She grew in an uber religious household where dancing was considered part of the devil. I mean, they weren't allowed to go see movies in the movie theater. Went to Bible college, so I laughed because, like, yeah, it's been quite the journey. And Robin says, "I'm witnessing the power of God. God is it's incredible. God is the most amazing thing." And you're talking to someone who not ever give God the glory. I was like, and like I said, I was never atheist because I always knew there's something bigger than me. Right. But I had such a bitter taste in my mouth for religion because of being raised Jehovah's Witness. I wasn't allowed to celebrate birthday, Christmas. Everything was bad. Everything was bad. The only thing we were allowed to do is go to the congregation of Jehovah's Witness.
Didn't even celebrate.
Nothing.
Christmas.
Nothing. It was crazy. And although my father and mother weren't Jehovah's Witness, my grandmother always put a damper on all that stuff because it was like, you shouldn't be doing this. So you did it out of guilt. It's like, I'm doing something really bad on that, that kind of thing.
And I just wanted to say that anybody who wants to comment, feel free to ask anything you want to. There's nothing off limits. We don't need pronouns. We don't need to be referred to anyway. We don't need anybody's like sympathy in the sense of like, oh, I need to walk around eggshells on you guys and stuff like that and not offend, because there's nothing that you're going to offend. We are who we are, and our story is out there, and it's plain and visible for all to see. And we have been everywhere and everywhere on the spectrum. So is it hard? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Is it hard to detransition? I heard Mark say he tried 4 times. Is it like going through withdrawals? Pardon my lack of knowledge. I went through menopause, and that hormonal transition was brutal.
Put it this way. Once you get secondary characteristics, from taking testosterone, I've had a hysterectomy at the age of 38, and I had top surgery, which means I had my breast removed, and I've been on hormones since, 2003. And prior to that, I was a female bodybuilder, so I took some stuff to gain muscle. So the voice never returns. To get rid of the hairiness, the body hair, I mean, I'm like Chewbacca. I lost all the hair in my head, but it all went to my body, my back, my chest.
And he is
a hairy monster. And, when I tried to detransition, I tried doing some of the laser stuff. And not only was it painful, but my hair was going, you think you're going to get rid of me. The lady would sit there and sap, and before you know it, it grew right back. And I'm like, I'm not doing this to myself. It's like, it was so much easier for me to transition. I started taking hormones, and before you know it, my voice started to deepen. I started getting a beard right away because I'm intersex. I have what they call progestin-induced virilization. So when testosterone hit my body goes, oh, I know what to do with this. And right away, it was very easy. The other, going back, tried 4 times because, you feel like, okay, I want to be close to God. I want to do the right thing. But it's like, these are my scars. I can't undo this unless God worked some sort of miracle. And we were waiting for that miracle. We're like, oh, God's going to make my hair grow back on my head. And God's going, these are your wounds, and I'm going to use you the way you are.
And the thing is that, there's a few times that I really gave it a real, good try, you know, I mean, like, and I remember just, you know, the enemy will use even your own family against you.
Gotcha.
Because there was a moment where I was so tender and I was so broken last year. And we went to go visit my mother, and she's a dear woman, and she's very, very conservative. And I mean, this is a woman that never wore pants, okay, and never wore earrings and barely any makeup. So she was so hesitant to help us. You know, I mean, we offered to stay at her place to be able to gracefully transition back to our original gender and everything. And it's like, no, I don't want you to stay here. You're not even welcome on my driveway.
Yeah. I had a bag.
I was like in tears. Yeah. I ran down the street at one point because they were just like, and I don't mean any disrespect to my family, but a lot of times your family is one of the biggest deterrents for healing, you know. And for me personally, I was so crushed that day. After, I couldn't spend the night at the home of my own mother, you know, who has a big home in California. And basically, I made a video that day at the Pilot rest stop, gas station, truck stop, and I was in tears. I was like, why am I doing this? You know, I mean, what's the purpose of doing this?
And I painfully had Luna shave me and try to see, and it's like, when I try to present as a female now, I look like a drag queen, you know. It's like was it one time when I tried to do transition, somebody goes, why are you doing that? You're a guy. You just can't.
That was my sister. Yeah. Too. Yeah. She said, why did you make him do that to come to visit us? She was like in awe of his story, because his story is remarkable. He was on Maury Povich, one of the early transitioning trans men before it was even a thing. You know, now it's like all the rage. People are talking about it. But back then it was like, oh my God.
I was on every Spanish talk show. I've done documentaries. I've been trying to educate people on what transgender is all about. And now I'm like completely the opposite. I'm like, please don't do it. This solves absolutely nothing. There's going to be more pain and more suffering if you decide to go on this journey than joy. And there's people out there that may appear to be happy and may think that their life is, you know, great now. But all I have to say is, through the years, and the years of hormones, and the years that your body is being told how much you hate it, that you're going to get sick. There are many trans people that die of cancer, heart attacks, strokes, diabetes. Their thyroids get messed up. They get osteoporosis because you're putting in toxins in your body that do not agree with your endocrine system. We're telling your body that you're something else that you're not. Your biology can't be changed. Your thought process thinks it can, but your biology says, this ain't the way to go.
It's like when you put diesel in an unleaded car, you know, doesn't work right. So,
Robin.
But Blue Bottle Bunny, part of my lack of knowledge, I went through menopause, and that hormonal transition was brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you deal with
it? It was hard. I mean, I went through menopause at 38 because I had a full hysterectomy. At the same time, I had my breast removed. And it was difficult. And although I was taking testosterone, which kind of alleviated a little bit of hormonal imbalance, but I was going through hot flashes. I mean, it was terrible. Now I'm leveled off. I'm 54. So I did this when I was 38. So it's been years, and my body's adjusted, and I eat very healthy. I mentioned earlier in the first video, plant-based. We eat 1 meal a day. And, you know, we try to do as much healthy things to counteract the unhealthy things that we've done, you know. And then she says, I think your story is powerful. I'm in awe of your courage. Thank you so much. I think it would have been more courage had we lived, you know, in the assigned birth gender that we were given, because that's the hard thing. But, you know, at least I'm grateful to God for where I am, that I got to meet the most amazing human being in the world I fell in love with and married. And that through it all, you know, for us, God has been very gracious, and we've, you know, we're one of the lucky ones. Because very few people, I mean, majority of trans people die alone, are alone. They have a cat or a dog, no one to love them. Their kids abandon them. Their mom and dad abandon them, and nobody, wants them around. They're seen as leopard. They get sick from the years of use of hormone, and they don't have anybody there to even tell them, hey, I'm here for you. So we're lucky. A lot of trans people don't have that same luck. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of really sad stories.
And we interact with people in the trans community, and we try to reach out to them. And, one particular trans woman who had the surgery recently, the surgery, meaning the sexual reassignment one, she was talking to you just a few moments ago, telling you about how broken and how this isn't just about gender and that it's more than just that. And, that's the thing that people always, they put all their eggs in this basket of gender identity. And when they do everything that they wanted to do, they still find themselves broken.
Yeah, they said they've hated themselves from the time they were a little kid. They have no peace. They're depressed or anxious. And, this is for another video. And we've talked a lot about this in our show, Real Talk with the Cummings. But this is a neurological impairment based on chemical reactions of, my mother took DES. There's a lot of things that our mothers were exposed to. This is a very chemically toxic world that we're living in, and it's a very estrogen-filled world. And that's why we're seeing all these kids nowadays that are gender confused, gender queer.
Sperm counts have been reduced by 50% in the last 50 years.
Exactly.
There's an agenda. There's something that's really sinister that's going on to our population, and there's a plan.
And it's cynical. I mean, if you look at Celine Dion's latest new clothing line where they're trying to eliminate gender, this is all coming from the top. This is all coming from a very cynical Illuminati cabal type of plan, and it's a scary thing. So then Robin says, and make it beautiful. And make it beautiful. Trust me, I'm 51 and seeing the power of God. I can feel his spirit coming through my phone. God is love. God is total love.
Cool.
Yes, totally.
It's very encouraging. Totally. You two definitely have my respect for putting your lives on YouTube.
Thank you, Chase.
Carrie.
I really do believe God has plans for us. Look at what I went through with losing my husband. And now look, I'm a veteran advocate and I share my story to help others who have lost to suicide. Yes, Carrie, you're definitely blessed, and God does have a plan for each and every one of us. And we appreciate your friendship totally. We really do. You've been there for Lynna when Lynna and I split up, because we did have a time there where we, because the dark side always wants to like shred, and but God always has a way of taking his children and bringing them back together. And it's like, okay, we're back together again. Do the work that I want you to do.
And and I really do believe, Carrie, that you have an amazing message, an amazing story to share with those who have experienced such loss as you have. And, you could be such, and you are such an amazing example, and instead of letting bitterness take over and consume you, let that love and that compassion for others fill you, so that you can give what you have.
You take that feeling, that pain, that hurt, and through that pain, instead of let's say getting bitter, you take and you create something positive. You share your passion and your love with others in ways and talents that the Lord has given us. Definitely. I think you would be a good teacher. I like Joel Osteen.
Yeah, you did. And then, hey there. God didn't do it. He mended it and showing everyone what he can do.
Definitely. I hope you don't think you're the only one's gone through hell and back again.
Oh, definitely not.
No, everybody on this planet has their, skeleton in the closet and have demons to face. And Carrie says they know they aren't chased. They just share their experience to help others. Thank you, Carrie.
Carrie knows that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Blue Bottle, Buddy Farm says, I was raised Mormon, and that was a total mind warp.
One thing that has always confused me, there's one God, but there's all these religions and all these interpretations. And because of all these interpretations and all these different religions, we all fight one another. And I think that's the plan of the enemy. I think that's why they, our tongues were divided, our language was confused, so that we couldn't communicate. And I don't think it was just speaking language. I think is trying to understand one another. You know, I think that you get 5 people in the room and you're not going to get those 5 people to agree on anything, because it's like a seed that's been planted by the enemy to have us fight each other, because divide and they shall conquer. Let's see, it's beautiful. What more do we need to know? Definitely, it is. Yes. And Handsome Man asks, what is your job? I don't know. What is your job, Handsome Man? I mean, people, one of the things in the world that people always want to know, instead of saying, how are you? Who are you? We say, my name is, and I work at such and such. You know, who really are you?
Yeah.
My job is to spread my love and my light to my other fellow human beings, brothers and sisters in this world, and to hopefully try to make heaven here on earth.
Yes, Big Fan, we are both trans.
Yes. You missed the beginning of the video.
Yeah.
Go back and watch it. And there's always somebody that
yeah. I mean, that's why it's not accepted. It's not understood.
Yeah.
And I don't blame you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
it is.
That'd be right.
Yeah, let's see here. We just got to get you all where you need to be to teach and guide the ones who's going through what you've been through. And that's what we want to do. We really want to be able to educate and share our stories, so that, and again, we're not promoting transgenderism in the least. This is the wounds, and this is a byproduct of all the things that we've gone through in this world. But if we could help people understand that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, that the pain that they're going through has to be dealt with from the root, whether it's childhood trauma, sexual abuse, whatever it has been, to deal with it, face it. I have a famous saying, I say, feel it, own it, and let it go. What happens with all of us is or most of us, is we hold on to this hurt, this guilt, this fear, this anger, and that just makes us bitter inside. And then we become sick. And sickness has different ways of showing. It could be mental illness. It could be physical illness. You get cancer. I mean, 1 out of 3 people nowadays are getting cancer. So we've got to learn to deal with all these problems and face it. And number 1, we can't do it alone. We got to remember that we have to give it to God. And God will set us free.
Well, Robin just echoed what you said earlier. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm looking and hearing it.
Thank you, Robin. I was raised Roman Catholic. I was baptized as a little baby as a Roman Catholic. And we got baptized in 2016 as Christians at this Calvary.
Yeah,
that was
I remember that day. I was so like, okay, God, really? You have a sense of humor. Here we are, and I'm back to square one again with you. And I was almost like angry. I was almost like bitter, because it's like, so I've been on this journey of truth, and this is where it gets me again at the end of this whole revolution.
But it wasn't.
Here we are again.
It was like,
it was like, okay, God, I will do this for Moritz at the time, and I will be obedient. And we went into the waters in the Atlantic Ocean. And I remember it was just so awkward, because we told them about our little testimony about being trans and stuff. And they were, now, you know that, that you're not supposed to fall back into sin. And I was thinking to myself, before that happened, or right afterwards, I was like, okay, now what, God? What else is there? And, yeah. So,
yeah, it's that attitude, the church attitude, instead of like, okay, well, at least they're getting to know Jesus. At least they're accepting the love of Christ. At least they're accepting that Christ died on the cross for them, and I think that's important. It's not about, you better not sin again. It's like, we're all going to sin day in and day out. We're human.
I really do believe the story of the woman who was thrown out in front of the Pharisees and Jesus, and they said, stone her, Jesus, and Jesus said, you who has no sin, cast the first stone. And then he told the woman, after they left, he said, go and sin no more. I think what happened there was not that the woman had like this like Jesus was mandating her, don't go sin anymore, but that the woman realized that she didn't have to sin anymore. She didn't want to do what she was doing anymore, because she had met the truth, and the truth was there in love, and she beheld that truth, and the compassion of God came over her. And it's like, for you with drinking, it was like,
stop smoking,
like,
drinking,
don't smoke, don't drink,
stop eating bad foods, all like from one day to the next. It was like, I don't want to drink anymore. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, it's like, I just don't want to do it.
Yeah, it's like no one told me not to do it. It's just what I felt, and I don't want to care about materialistic things. It's like we went on a spiritual 90-day gypsy blue nomad journey that we traveled in our little Prius and lived in our Prius for 90 days and traveled the United States. It was the happiest time in my life. We got rid of everything.
So free.
And it was
just a backpack for.
Yeah, that was it. And I felt like, oh my God, this is so free. And I love this. Waking up in different places, making food out in the middle of nature. It was just like the most amazing and beautiful thing. And that's the dream that I wanted us to do next, is get a little van, traveling van. So, because the car is kind of really hard, no bathroom. You're in the mercy of, showers in the truck stops and bathrooms and gas stations and stuff like that, so that we could do it, without so much discomfort. And then during our travels, want to be able to spread our message and teach at colleges and do little seminars at churches and whoever wants to listen. There's
this trans woman. Her name is Jessica Lynn, and she travels all around the world talking about why trans, this and that and the other. And they have their surgery, and they get hired by like this massive company to travel on the world and spread basically lies, and
to promote the
trans.
We want to tell people, please don't.
Yeah, we want to be the opposite of that, And okay, so Chaser says, I would starve at your house. Yeah, you probably would.
You probably would. And Robin said I was 49. You were 49 when you were baptized, Robin? Is that? I'm quite sure.
Do you guys go out dancing?
Yes, we do. On Saturday, it's a very small town that we live in. There are not that many places, but I have tea, usually have coffee, and they play live music. She never used to drink coffee. I got her to, we have coffee in the morning with our breakfast, or not in the morning, when we have our first meal, which is usually 1 o'clock, our only meal. And no, we don't get hungry, because a lot of people go, only one meal. It's like, we feel amazing. We have the most energy ever. When we go to the gym, we train on an empty stomach and just feel a lot of energy and a lot of clarity. And it's really good.
And no dishes.
And only once a day. Time. Yeah, once a day. Anyway, he goes, okay, write that one already.
Terry says, you two are the most beautiful spirits ever. And I'm so blessed to have you in my life. I adore you both and appreciate your friendship. And we appreciate yours, Carrie.
Definitely. And Big Fist says, I'm a Christian trans guy, and it's always hard. Oops. Where did I go? And it's always hard to find a church that's accepting. Yeah, there are some churches that aren't, but you've got to communicate. I mean, we sat down today with a pastor and his wife, and we are very much welcome in the church. They want us to actually speak in the church to educate people that go there. And we're looking forward to it, because fellowship is a very beautiful thing. We love worship music. Mm-hmm. I love to listen to the Word of God. I mean, when we make our meal, we usually end up putting worship or sermons. So it's that one young guy who's Steve.
This guy has got a church called Elevation Church. His name is Stephen Furtick.
Love to listen to him. The power and the message, and it's like God speaking right to us. Totally.
Yeah, it's really powerful stuff. And basically. I don't think it's a matter of finding a church that's accepting, because more often than not, I don't think the church accepts what we're doing, but finding a way to get fellowship and to make it make it so that they can see you and see your humanity
and see your heart.
And I think that's what the pastor's wife told us today. She said, I think that the way that you'll win over people's hearts is by sharing your testimony, sharing what you've been through, sharing the humanity of everything. And, that's how they will see, because let's be honest, what most of the church thinks of when they think transgender are deviants, are sexual predators, are really crazy, crazy deviant people. And, I think that, we were able to share some light to them and to be able to give them an example of people who, we have our hangups. We have our things that we go through. We deal with what we deal with. And yeah, for me, gender dysphoria is a thing, but you know, for someone else, they could be struggling with alcoholism. They could be struggling with, you know, some kind of addiction of some kind.
It's an imbalance. It's a disease of because people don't like to see it that way. But okay, to say that you're born in the wrong body, okay, well, there's something wrong there. Just by saying I'm born in the wrong body, there's something wrong, a disease, a disbalance, you know. So or an imbalance. So you go to church to try to get balance, to receive God, to learn to love yourself, because a lot of us in the trans community hate ourselves. We hate our bodies, and that hatred is so bad for you. That's what needs to be healed. You need to love every single part of you, every cell in your body. How do you think cancer comes to be? The rebellious cells, cells that go rogue. So if you're telling your body how terrible you are, how much you hate yourself, what do you think is going to happen in your body? So you take a rose and you yell at it, and you yell at it. There's been experiments done with that, and you see how the plant or the rose or whatever it is that you're yelling at starts to just get mold and wither away. You need to send love into your heart. You need to speak love into existence. You need to love yourself as you are. Not just, I only love myself if I look like a woman or if I look like a man or if I get these surgeries. And that's where I think lies the problem, is the lack of self-love and self-respect. And that's coming from a very dark place. When you learn to realize that that's coming from a very dark place, then you start to think, oh my God, why do I feel this way? Why do I think that I'm going to be any better off if I'm the opposite gender? And these are things that as you grow as an individual and God starts to speak to your heart, you start to realize. Okay, so Robin.
Don't forget about Panda Ross. She's going to blow your minds, and y'all will see how God will bless you and use you to change the world. Simon said he was witnessing what true magic is.
Wow, definitely looking forward to that.
Looking forward. X Factor UK 2018.
My favorite song has pulled me through. Wow. Oops. And Chase says, well, I got to go, guys. The wife fixed dinner and the arrows in her eyes are coming out.
Go eat.
Go eat. Have your food.
Thanks.
Thank you, Robin. Robin says, have a good night.
Oh, thank you, Robin.
No, he's saying good night.
Oh, have a good night, Chaser. Okay, thanks for staying, Robin.
Yes.
Pilgrim's Progress.
Hey.
Cool. Hello, friends. Great message.
10 commandments were made to be possible to follow, impossible to follow, to prove that we can't do it on our own. Definitely. We need him. Totally.
If everybody were to understand that, we kill people every single day. It doesn't matter. The Bible says, Exodus 20, 10 commandments say, do not kill, right? But we kill people every single day with our words, with our gossiping, with our lying tongue, with our, it's more than just a physical death. It's we kill our children's, we break our children's spirit, without being able to realize that our words are so powerful that they have such potential to damage a lifetime.
Exactly.
Your mother's words over you.
Oh my God, that's
really inflicted harm.
And I love her to death, but my mom has been a determining factor in a lot of my wounds and a lot of my poor coping skills and the things that I've done in life. But I'm grateful, because if it wasn't for her, I would have not taken this journey, and I would have not learned, and I probably would have never come to God the way that I have, with all my afflictions and with all my sins and with all my problems. So I'm thankful for the bad things, because through the bad things, God works mysteriously and helps us grow emotionally and spiritually. Blue Bottle says, Christ would not condemn you. Lena, I was thinking of the same story. Church folks might condemn you, but Christ would not, nor do I. I'm inspired. Thank you, Blue Bottle. Thank you so much. And Robin says, menopause. Oh, that's when you had menopause at 49. Yeah, 38. For me, that was wow, I wasn't expecting that, because when I did this, there was hardly anybody doing this. So there wasn't a lot of research or any explanation. I sometimes worried that I shot myself in the foot, that, by inducing menopause so young and, creating all these problems for myself, that God knows if I shorten my lifespan. But, I'm here as long as God wants me here and gives me health. So, at least I'll be
here for a while. So you're going to be here for a while.
Okay.
Well, you said.
Yes, we're gonna die together.
Yes.
Just like have you guys seen
Like
the
the
movie
Notebook.
Notebook movie? Yeah, we watched that. In the beginning, when you and I started together, you were still very broken from the car accident.
Absolutely.
And we watched that movie on a laptop, and I was like, that's how we're gonna do it. And we're both ready to go, and God decides to take us both together.
Yeah, but nobody's going to have Alzheimer's.
No, we're not gonna have Alzheimer's. Let's see here. Blue bottle went through menopause at 48. Yeah, it's tough. Menopause is not fun, not at all, especially all that sweating and those, hormone changes and the heart palpitations. Oh my God, sometimes I thought I was going to get a heart attack. Your heart just starts going erratic. Because people don't realize hormone controls everything. That's one of the things I always tell trans people. You're messing with your endocrine system, and your endocrine system is so important to your health. It's vital. It messes up your thyroid, your adrenal, your pituitary. I mean, it's just everything gets thrown upside down. That's how you get cancer and all sorts of different things. So you got to be so ever careful. Listen to the song, He Broke the Chain. Have you heard that one before?
I'm not sure. Maybe.
He Broke the Chain. We listen to a lot of Christian music. And
I've been listening to a lot of Lauren Daigle lately. I know there's been a lot of controversy with her being on Ellen and The Tonight Show and stuff like that.
Beautiful music, though.
Wow, such powerful lyrics.
And powerful voice. She's got an amazing
voice.
Very
Gifted artist and musician.
Let's see, Ram says, or Blue Bottle says, I only ate once a day when I did keto. I need to get back to that. I never felt better than when I practiced intermittent fasting. We've been doing intermittent fasting for, gosh, just about all the time we've been together almost. I did it way before being with Linda.
I did not.
Yeah, it was hard for her at first, but finally, the body gets used to it. And because people don't understand, the more you eat, the faster you age, the more insulin production you get. The more insulin production you get, the more fat storing you get, the quicker you age. So by eating once a day, which is the way we do the 23-1, intermittent fasting goes from 16 to 8. They have different systems, but we like the 1-23 means we eat 1 hour in the day and fast for 23. It helps with healing. You get, what is it called? Autophagy, which means that the body starts to eat away at old tumors and excess protein and old injuries and things of that nature. And it helps your body heal. It like gives your liver a break, and it's amazing. It keeps you young. So it's a wonderful system, and I highly recommend it. It helps you lose fat. Your body starts to build more growth hormone that starts to decrease as we age. We lose muscles as we age. So it's a great thing. Let's see, Carrie.
I've really enjoyed our talks tonight. Your talks tonight. Time for me to go for a walk with my neighbor. I hope you have a most amazing rest of your night. I love you both. Good night. Love you.
Good night, and take care, Carrie. And lots of love to you. So, and he's a chain breaker. That yes, that one we have heard.
We heard that.
Yes, definitely.
I love you all.
Love you too.
I grew up with so much Christian music in my life. I mean, I listened to so many things, and even back then, when I was a kid growing up and in high school, other kids were listening to other stuff, and I was listening to Christian contemporary music, which they called it back then. And even back then, I was just like, feeling guilty about listening to Christian rock. My parents were like super, super duper strict, and I think that when we do like shelter our children that extremely, it's like it doesn't help the situation. So I think that there should be an ability to parent without suppressing, not allowing your child to do certain things, obviously, but allowing them to express themselves. And if they have different tastes than the traditional.
Right, and not make everything fearful and bad, because that kind of opens up a gateway for the dark side to come in, because when you live in fear, you welcome that dark force. And
I always felt like, I didn't have a testimony. I always felt, oh, I'm just a goody two-shoes Christian kid. I never smoked, drank, or, did anything, whatever. And then, last 5 years, A bit different.
Yeah.
A bit different.
So Naughty Beaver just put out a video. He hasn't put out one in a while.
Yeah. Wow.
I was wondering if he was going to say.
I'm sure he didn't say anything about Chloe.
I was wondering if he was going to say anything about that, because he was invited.
He was,
and he reneged.
I'm sure he's going to stay away.
So anyway, we have rambled on quite a lot.
Yeah, we've done 2 videos.
2 videos.
2 different topics.
Yeah, 2 different topics, but we wanted to cover both. And yeah, appreciate all the feedback, all the comments, all the great, beautiful comments from beautiful souls. We totally appreciate your support. You know, we all need love. We all need fellowship. You know, we all need to be able to share what's in our heart so that we can heal as a species without having to take a bunch of cameras out in the canyon somewhere and invade somebody's land.
And I also, you know, want to just say that, you know, and this is to Christians out there, to really consider opening your hearts to people like us that, you know, that, no, you don't necessarily have to condone what we do. And, but if you let us go to your church, if you let us be a part of your fellowship, if you let us become a part of your family, and let God deal with the supernatural changing of an individual. And even if somebody doesn't, it's almost like, you know, it's almost like the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace. And when, you know, they refused to bow down to the king, and they were thrown into the fiery furnace, and they told the king that even if we don't survive, we will not bow down to your God. You know, even if a person were to go to your fellowship, and the miracle that you wanted for them in wanting them to return to their life and everything as they were supposed to, even if that didn't happen, that they would have had the opportunity to be in fellowship and to develop a sense of community with fellow believers and stuff. And let God do the changing. Let God be the one to plant the seed. Maybe 10 years down the road, God will do the work. Maybe 2 seconds into a worship song, God can do the work. So we just leave it to God to do the work. And all you have to do is not just accept what someone's doing, but accept them into your congregation.
And just to allow people to get to know God. So many people don't know God. They fear him, they hate him, they don't want any part of him. But to help people develop a relationship with God, that's the ultimate goal. And that's where the healing begins. And the healing could take months, years, seconds. The healing could look differently in everybody. But allowing a person to feel God's love, to be in the presence of his family. And that's all we can do as human beings, you know? We're not perfect. That's why Christ died on the cross for us. Thank you, Robin. Robin says, I feel like I was blessed today by meeting you all. Thank you so much, Robin.
Thanks, Robin.
We were blessed by meeting you. And all of you, you know, your comments are very healing and very helpful for broken people like us. You know, that we try to be good people. We try to do the right thing, you know, don't drink, don't smoke, try to eat, you know, a diet that's suffering free. I'm not into the material things. We're very simple, you know. Like I said, my dream and my heart is to be able to go back out on that road and go to colleges and churches and spread the word of God to people that have rejected God, and to help teach people about this condition, and that they don't have to go the route of the medical so-called fix, you know, that they could just try to deal and sit with their issues and express, because not every woman is a feminine woman. Not every man is a masculine man. You know, we all have our personality. Some women like to wear men's clothing. Some men like to wear women's clothing. It's only clothing. I mean, why should we be judged by clothing? And so if this world learned to accept people and not judge them, maybe we could get a little bit closer to healing and being closer to our Father.
And to understand that God works in these intricate ways. I mean, the web that he weaves and the patchwork quilt that he sews together is something that will boggle the mind. I mean, when you're looking at like, okay, it's like a painting. If you look at it up close, like, you know, a painting of some of the greats, you know, like a Salvador Dali painting or something, you look up close and it looks like a mess. But when you pull yourself out and you look at it from a distance, you can see what it's all about.
Exactly.
And I think that, you know, no, it wasn't God's intent. You know, like
this wasn't his ideal plan for
intent.
us, you know,
Yeah,
obviously.
but he constructed this in a way that that you and I could meet. That I, in my broken state, as a broken human being and literally injured, you know, could reach out to you in a way that you would have never have been reached out, you know.
Exactly.
And, you know, the story's still weaving itself, and it's a beautiful story. Our lives is a beautiful story, and I'm just so glad that, you know,
we got this together.
Yeah.
Robin says she's Cherokee. And
really cool.
We're Taino descent. I'm from Cuba, and Linda's from Puerto Rico, and that's the tribe in our islands. And she also said, I hate wearing dresses. I hear you. I hate to wear dresses too.
Sorry.
And Global just shared one. I'm looking at right here. He's on live
He's
right
like,
now.
I'm into the wild of
something or another. Yeah. Anyway, I think we've really. I'm tired.
A lot.
Tired. It's been amazing though. Thank you so much for listening to us and for participating. You know, we appreciate your support and your love, and for being here with us. And we're looking forward to continuing some more videos and sharing more information. We'd like to educate people about, you know, the dangers and transitioning, the different things that's going on in the community. Also, we do a lot of health informational talks and things of that nature. So, you know, join us whenever you see us come on by just hitting a little reminder bell there. So when you come on, we would appreciate and love the interaction with you. So guys, as we said before, we love you. But remember to always love yourselves too. Good night.